In days gone by, a king was usually the head of the government. He was the leader of the people and was all-powerful. There was even a common tendency to promote the king as God's representative on earth, that is, the concept of the divine right of kings. It was considered treason to even so much as question a king's decision, what to speak of challenging his right to rule. In this chapter, we will study the following topics: importance of citizens in the working of a democracy, representative democracy, universal adult franchise. A democracy in which people elect representatives to work on their behalf is called a representative democracy. In a representative democracy, political parties put up candidates for elections. These parties explain their respective program. Thus, they play a vital role in elections. They form a link between the people and the government. They mobilize public opinion on various issues facing the country. They may oppose the stand taken by the government, or they may support it. The political party that wins a majority of seats in the legislature is entitled to form the government. Thus, representative democracy in one sense means rule of the majority representatives belonging to one political party or parties. The candidates belonging to other parties who remain in minority play the role of opposition in the legislature.
Sometimes when there is no single political party in the majority, two or more political parties come together to form the government. Such a government, one formed by more than one political party, is called a coalition government, for example, UPA, United Progressive Alliance, NDA, National Democratic Alliance.
Majority rule does not mean ruthlessly suppressing the views of the minority. Democracy is government through discussion and debate. Therefore, it is expected that those in power should carefully weigh the arguments of the opposition. Actually, the leader of the opposition is as good as the leader of the party or parties in power. The main aim of democracy is to do the greatest good to the greatest number. Both the party in power and party in opposition work for the welfare of the people and the country. They never go against the larger interests of the country. This means that both have to raise themselves above petty party considerations. Therefore, it is said that representative government works like a pair of scissors with its two blades, one in power and the other in opposition. Both must work in cooperation with each other to make democracy a success. Political parties are found in every country of the world these days, and they have special importance in democratic system. In democracy, political parties organize the people, spread political education among them, prepare the people for elections, field representatives, form the government, make the responsible, and act as a link between the people and the government. The fact is that in the absence of political parties, anarchy will reign supreme in political life. A political party is an organized group of people who come together to achieve certain common goals. They seek to capture governmental power by constitutional methods. They make promises to would-be voters. When printed, these are called the election manifesto. These promises then become the basis of the policies when they come to power and form the government. In other words, they want to make their policies the policies of the new government. The common people generally do not have much knowledge about political problems. They literally cannot afford to take interest in these activities. Political parties present such problems to these people in simple language, thus creating political awakening among them. Political parties convey their views to the people in various ways, such as newspapers, magazines, public meetings, dramas, etc. They thus try to mold public opinion in their favor. In an age of indirect democracy, as practiced today, the day-to-day administration is carried on by the representatives elected by the people. Political parties contest elections and try to get their candidates elected. For this purpose, political parties publish their election manifesto so as to spread awareness about their policies among the people. Public meetings are held and processions are often taken out. Qualities of their candidates are highlighted so that people may be impressed by their qualities and vote for them. The success of democracy depends upon politically awakened citizens. If the people are lacking in political education, the administration will not run smoothly. There are different methods for spreading political education. Political parties are therefore involved in spreading political education. Political parties present the problems confronting their country before the people. In the process, citizens also become aware of their rights and duties. Free and fair elections tend to produce responsible governments. The majority party forms the government and the minority party performs the role of the opposition. If the majority party does not have any fear of an opposition party, then it becomes irresponsible and may act in an arbitrary manner. The opposition party is always keen to find out some blunder of the government for which they may be condemned in public. Therefore, before adopting a policy, government considers it thoroughly to remove any defect. The ruling party conveys the policies of the government to the people and conveys problems of the people to the government. On the other hand, the opposition party makes the people aware of the weaknesses of the government and conveys the problems of the people to the government. Thus, through the political parties, a continuous channel of communication is maintained between the people and the government. To boost their popularity, political parties launch campaigns to remove social evils. Nowadays, every political party opposes the evils of casteism, dowry, use of narcotics, female infanticide, etc. In democratic countries, along with the majority party, the opposition parties have special significance. That is why in some states, the leader of the opposition is granted legal recognition. Opposition parties make the government accountable and force it to adopt responsible courses of action, provide an alternative team to form the government, and also promote political awakening among the people. Opposition parties act as a permanent check on the misuse of powers and continuously remind the government of its limitations. It is because of the fear of opposition parties that the government is unable to misuse its powers.
Spread of political consciousness. Opposition parties constantly keep the people conscious about the day-to-day happenings, weaknesses of the government, and their rights and liberties, etc. As a result of this, political consciousness spreads among the people, something which is very necessary for the success of democratic governments. Protection of rights and liberties. In a modern state, man is given many rights and liberties. Opposition parties do not allow the government to violate these rights and liberties. Ventilating the grievances of the people. Opposition parties ventilate the grievances of the people from time to time and convey them to the government. For this purpose, they use different platforms within and outside the legislature. They take out processions, get articles published in newspapers, stage plays, give television interviews, etc. Formation of public opinion. With a view to winning the coming elections, the opposition parties build up public opinion in their favor. If the opposition parties fail to do so, the party in power will continue to dominate. For this purpose, the opposition parties publicize their achievements and highlight the weaknesses of the government among people. They thus try to turn public opinion in their favor. Coalition government. Because of the multi-party system in India and lack of ideological commitment, different political parties enter into electoral alliances to contest elections jointly and form the government afterwards. In 1977, in different states and at national level, different parties contested elections jointly after achieving grand success at the polls and formed Janata Party. In 1983, Bharatiya Janata Party and Lok Dal established National Democratic Front against what they felt were the wrong policies of the Congress Party. This was the start of coalition government in the centre as well as in the states. To contest the elections to the 13th Lok Sabha, the BJP and its allies formed the National Democratic Alliance (NDA) under the leadership of Sri Atal Bihari Vajpayee. The Congress party also had an alliance with Rashtriya Janata Dal in Bihar and with AIADMK in Tamil Nadu. 14th and 15th Lok Sabha. During the elections to the 14th and 15th Lok Sabha, electoral alliances were made by different political parties. Coalition politics have become an important characteristic of the Indian party system. Period, the right to vote used to be granted on the grounds of religion, race, caste, education, poverty, sex, etc. But with the coming of democracy, the right to vote has been granted to every individual without any discrimination. This is called universal adult franchise. Article 325 of the Constitution provides that no citizen of India shall be debarred from inclusion in the voters' list on the basis of religion, caste, race, or sex. Article 326 of the Indian Constitution provides for holding elections to the Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies on the basis of adult franchise as follows. Every individual who is a citizen of India has attained the age of 18 years and has not been disqualified from exercising his right to vote can get himself registered as a voter. Importance of adult franchise. The importance of adult franchise in India can be emphasized under the following headings. Expression of faith in the people's sovereignty. The Indian Constitution accepts the principle of the sovereignty of the people. In fact, the preamble of the Constitution starts with, "We, the people of India." This is a clear declaration of this principle. Universal adult franchise gives practical shape to the theory of sovereignty. People get political education. Universal adult franchise has played an important role in imparting political education to Indians. People elect their representatives at regular intervals and change them if required, thus keeping alive their interest in political activities. It is a conformity with the principle of equality. The Constitution of India is committed to grant to the citizens all kinds of equality at all levels. Adequate provisions in this regard have thus been made in the Constitution. Universal adult franchise ensures the right to equality because by following this concept, every citizen of India has been given share in administration without any discrimination. It has created a sense of self-respect among citizens. The provision of universal adult franchise has also created a sense of self-respect among Indians. They feel that government represents them and they can change it whenever they wish. At the time of elections, political leaders go to the people canvassing for votes, and the poorest of the poor goes to cash his vote. This fosters a sense of self-respect, self-sufficiency, and self-confidence among them. Elections. Elections are the very foundation of democracy. A person contesting an election may take part in it as a candidate of a political party or as an independent candidate. In elections, secrecy is observed to enable the voters to cast their votes according to their will and choice. These elections may be direct or indirect. The elections in which people take part directly are direct elections. But the elections in which only the elected candidates of the people take part are called indirect elections. Conditions for the success of democracy.
The success of democracy depends upon many factors, some of which are understanding the importance of voting, voting for the right sort of candidate, proper use of the right to vote.
For whom should we vote?
The vote is a sacred trust in the hands of people. the voters should exercise their right to vote with intelligence. Sometimes, unscrupulous parties and candidates offer money and other temptations in order to collect votes in their favor. It is the duty of the voters to get such candidates disqualified. According to the law of the country, candidates who use underhand means to win an election can be disqualified.
Foundations of democracy.
To vote under the influence of caste, religion, region, or any other extraneous factors is to undermine the very foundations of democracy. Casteism, regionalism, lack of interest in political life, and lack of proper education are great enemies of democracy.
Right to vote.
The voters should be aware of the problems of their country. After the elections, they should keep a watch over the activities of the elected representatives and see that they do not become corrupt. If the voters find that the ruling party does not care for the interests of the people, such a party should be discarded in the next general elections. To succeed, democracy also means that people should have faith in the system.
Right to vote.
Ignoring the right or duty to vote is a serious cancer which eats into the vitals of democracy. Every voter must cast his or her vote. Because of this indifferent attitude to elections, democracy will come to an end someday. It has been suggested that at times not even half of the voters exercise their franchise, that is, their right to vote.
The working of Indian democracy during the last 64 years has shown that almost half the voters of the country do not exercise their right to vote. Lack of interest on the part of the voters may lead to the dilution of the real meaning of democracy.